Time to talk about the best boy ever and new Khorne stuff in general, because by the time you guys are watching this, Creative Assembly should have announced already, otherwise you won't be watching it, that Uzel Skulltaker, or the Skulltaker, the basically legendary Bloodletter Lord, is going to be the legendary lord for the Khorne DLC upcoming, and of course we've got Karanak here, the best boy that I wanted to talk about today, in a replay from Ronin, once again against the High Elves. Let's take a look at the builds here real quick first. We got Valkyrie the Bloody here, and some Marauders with some dual hand weapons, and regular Marauders here mixed. We've got some Bloodletters here as a second line, and Skull Crushers for an elite anti-large AP force. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, looks like some Marauder Horsemen also out here on the side. For the High Elves, it looks like Tyrion up front. We've got some Spearmen, White Lions here, the newly improved Fireborn, and some War Lions as well. Sisters of Averlorn, yes, and one Talons of Torquelada with Lore of Fire Mage, of course, since Tyrion now has flaming magic damage. Huge buff for him. And yeah, let's talk a little bit about the best boy, Karanak, as he gets in here. So, you do need to protect Karanak. He is the best boy, but he is also a very sensitive boy. Less than 5,000 HP makes him very squishy, and you need to be careful about how you use him. He does have an incredibly competitive ability set, though, with a summon of Flesh Hounds and a hard snare for characters that also deals damage, similar to something like Effigy to Git for greenskins. Yeah, solid amount of damage for sure, and then of course a Flesh Hound is a great unit to have on summon. They're relatively expensive, sort of, decent mid-tier, have been better in the past, decent right now, especially as a summon though, and it's only 200 cost on him. His base cost is 1100, so you do need to be a little bit careful about how and when you use him to not get him horribly killed. Here, he is going to be punished a little bit by the flaming arrows, the High Elves, Tyrion also moving in. He does not want to be fighting someone big and scary like Tyrion, so Ronin's going to screen here a little bit, follow up with the Skull Crushers, and try and move him out and away from big scary Tyrion. I mean, of course, he could also use Karnak's snare on Tyrion, and it looks like the Wounded Prey contact effect also is something for Karanak. He gives that -5 melee defense and a vigor debuff when he hits whatever target, so there's that. 600 weapon strength also with Frenzy active means he definitely can hit very hard, but again, because of that low HP, you really don't want him fighting like dedicated combat characters. I'm actually surprised with how low of HP he has, but it does make him an interesting glass cannon for sure. But here, just kind of pulls away with the Marauder Horsemen, trying to avoid the archers for the time being while the rush develops a little bit here. We've got the Bloodletters in here and other various Khorne units doing a good job fighting, but the archers are definitely punishing pretty hard. These Skull Crushers might get a little bit outnumbered here, especially as the leadership for the Skull Crushers starts to dry up a little bit. These Bloodletters in the center, though, doing just fine, and overall, Marauders and Bloodletters are trading pretty decently. We do have one tactical reserve Skull Crusher over there, which is a little bit painful, but and here we see the good boy running on in. He's going to pull up a summon of those Flesh Hounds, which will trade very well into these War Lions here. A little bait and switch as he runs back out of the range of those nasty Elven Archers. Yeah, Flesh Hounds are a great unit to have on summon for sure. The mobility, high DPS, the ability to put them anywhere on the battlefield with the summon, more or less, as long as you can get Karanak close enough. Definitely is a great way to trade into a lot of other enemy mobile units. And here, especially the War Lions not getting their charge, that's a pretty bad trade for them anyway. But yeah, especially the Flesh Hounds there getting the surprise summon, just brutal engagement. That's a solid, what, like 700 value probably right there. Karanak gets blasted a little bit more as he runs in to disrupt these archers. We're going to see some Lyrian Reavers come in. The Sisters of Averlorn getting that Wounded Prey. -5 melee defense actually does help quite a bit against the High Elves, given their martial prowess, of course. We do get Skull Crushers on a quick follow-up. Karanak looking very low at this point, but going to jump into an engagement against Tyrion. They're both extremely low, so a little bit of RNG here. Could honestly go either way, but Karanak, if he's got his snare ability here, I don't know if I've actually seen it go off. I haven't highlighted it. I'm sure he has gotten some value from it. I just haven't seen the effect for when it goes off, but yeah, Karanak also has the ability to spot any units nearby. He has this little constant revealed trait, Endless Hunter, which reveals units around him. Not super useful against High Elves, but definitely could see use against other sneakier factions like Greenskins maybe, or Skaven. But right now, Khorne is pressing on all fronts trying to keep the rush up as much as possible. And yeah, looks like Valkia going to land there with those Reaver Archers, do a little bit of DPS. Karanak, again, just staying safe for the time being as the Archers kind of broadcast their fire here. Talons of Torquelada and the remaining Sisters doing what damage they can, but not really finishing any targets individually here. Tyrion does get his self-heal, which is going to give the High Elves a little boost on the balance of power and sort of a second chance at life here. Maybe if they can start to clean up some of these pocket engagements. The thing is, these Skull Crushers basically unaccounted for now, running through the back line here. As we look through the trees, going to be running through a massacring High Elves. They are starting to get a little bit isolated here, and they're facing a lot of numbers, like the Silvern Guard, Tyrion himself, all together. You can see them starting to get chunked down a little bit, but likewise, a Horn of Khorne there, juicing up their melee attack. They're going to be just dishing out insane DPS. I think, did Skull Crushers also get a buff in the last patch? I actually don't recall. There was so much on the patch notes that I honestly don't remember everything that happened. It's a lot, but I'm sure someone will correct me in the comments if that's the case. Karanak here, living his best life, just chasing some routing units. He's pretty much done his job at this point. If we actually look at his value, yeah, 1100 value, that's pretty much online with his base cost. So even though with his 2 abilities he did bring here, he's probably closer to 1500, maybe a little more actually with Bowseeker. But yeah, between him plus the summon, I would say is probably right around cost-effective. Maybe even a little above cost-effective, maybe a little better, possibly, if you account for the full value of the Lions, but yeah, the summon, getting the Lions was definitely a good get, and then his own value, yeah, 1100, nothing too crazy, but certainly a nice contribution, and just that utility of the character snare and the summons gives Khorne some more options of different things they can do that's not just melee attack buff or, you know, self-weapon strength buff, or like the 2 AoE damage abilities from like Valkia or Breath Attack from Scarbrand. Anyway, yeah, it just gives more dynamicism to Khorne, which I'm definitely a big fan of, so anyway, looking like we're moving towards the end phase here of this Conquest match. And there it is, a victory for Khorne. So nice performance from Karanak. I feel like this is actually a pretty good indication of where he's at. Like, he's not insanely strong due to his low HP pool, but can give you some good utility in some different matchups and situations. Yeah, I don't think he's going to be game-breaking by any means, but I do think he'll find a place in a lot of Khorne builds. We'll have to kind of wait and see, but nice to see Ronin's Khorne experiment here doing quite well. Credit to Ujiyama as well, giving him a good attempt with the High Elves, trying out some new things here. Yeah, even the Regiment Renowned Dragon Princes, the newly buffed Fireborn there, had a little bit of a tough time. But yeah, the Talons of Torquelada and the Sisters of Avalorn definitely got some really nice value. Tyrion himself, not too much. Would have liked to have seen a little bit better perhaps, but he did definitely get gooned pretty hard there in some unfavorable situations. Valkia kind of getting the jump on him. But yeah, overall, very fun battle. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Karanak, yeah, I think he's a good addition for Khorne. Like I said, he's not going to be the most OP thing in the world, which is good. I think he's reasonably well balanced. I do think maybe his HP pool could be a little bit higher. Like, if we're just thinking here, below 5,000 is pretty low. I mean, comparing to other kind of Khorne combat characters, I guess this guy on the Juggernaut really doesn't have a lot more. And that's just true of a lot of, like, horse characters, which is what he seems geared towards. Like, even if I go in here to just random faction like Bretonnia, right? This guy, I mean, he's got even less on horseback, right? Even on the Pegasus, he's not quite as much as Karanak, so, but still within that, like, high 4,000s range, right, that we would expect to see maybe from a horse character. Let's see, even like a legendary character like Rapunzel, yeah, right around the same. So, it's interesting. I do think it'll be useful. The lack of armor, though, and the lack of melee defense, not super lack of melee defense. 45 is not terrible. So, yeah, only 50 armor, though, means he will take damage from some sources pretty consistently. But overall, a nice addition for Khorne. And you've also got this AoE silence and removal of magic weapons. This will be good in certain matchups if you're trying to go very demon heavy, or if you're trying to shut down a caster, like against, say, Tzeentch, or maybe vampire counts. As long as you can keep him near your opponent's caster, certainly easier said than done, especially with somebody like Tzeentch, or vampire counts, to be honest. Both have flying casters, but you know what I mean. It can help, perhaps. But there you go. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.